buckle up. Today, we're discussing a hot-button topic currently driving discourse within segments of the gaming community, the drama surrounding Alanah Pearce and her contentious involvement in the critically acclaimed game God of War Ragnarok.
I don't want to fight anyone. I just want answers.
Now, if you spent any time scrolling through gaming forums, Twitter, or took a wrong turn on YouTube and landed in some very emotionally charged echo chambers, you've likely seen the accusations. Claims of lies, resurfaced tweets, and uncovered videos have all fueled the narrative that Alanah's contributions to the game were at best overstated and at worst entirely fabricated. I started sifting through the videos, tweets, podcasts, and statements with as unbiased a perspective as I could. Now, yes, I am a fan of the gaming communities that Alanah circles, and yes, I'm honestly scared that she can kick my ass.
Alanah Pearce!
But I hold no allegiance to her, and to be frank, putting up a provocative image of her with a clickbait hate title would definitely bring in more views, and you wouldn't see so many people in the comments calling me a simp. But the deeper I dug, a distinctly different narrative began to coalesce. It became clear that the entire hate campaign directed at Alanah Pearce is so deeply mired in its own confirmation bias that they can't see the forest for the trees. The evidence, if you just pause, put down your pitchfork,
But not me. I need to feed the horses.
and truly listen, is almost NDA-breakingly transparent. At the heart of all the critique lies a rather specific point of contention: the precise nature of Alanah's contributions to God of War Ragnarok. What we can confirm unequivocally is that she is credited in the game for her work with the accessibility team. And regardless of the exact scope of her involvement, it's worth remembering that God of War Ragnarok snagged the Innovation in Accessibility Award at the 2002 Game Awards.
The Game Award for Innovation and Accessibility goes to God of War Ragnarok!
So for that contribution alone, a nod of recognition is absolutely warranted. However, the real inferno,
The kind that generates enough heat to melt critical thinking.
ignited around the question of whether she actually served as a writer on the game. And that's where all the supposed smoking guns were aimed. I find it fascinating how certain pieces of evidence can gain traction, especially in the online sphere. One of these instances involves a now removed video from Alanah's YouTube channel, frequently cited as proof of her involvement in the God of War Ragnarok writing team. This assertion was amplified by YouTuber Harmful Opinions, who highlighted a tweet thread and a transcript from the deleted video, presenting it as definitive corroboration. However, a closer examination reveals a more nuanced picture. Alanah herself has previously addressed the removal of videos from her channel, offering context for such actions.
I took down hundreds of videos from this channel. If you look at my Social Blade, which is where you can see people's YouTube stats, you would be able to see that I was bulk taking videos down in increments. The reason I did this is that I rebranded my channel.
More critically, the specific line touted as confirmation of her writing role on God of War Ragnarok was extracted from a Q&A segment of the video, where the answer had no discernible connection to the actual game itself. The question was actually regarding her writing roles in general, not specifically to God of War Ragnarok. This disconnect is crucial, as misrepresenting or isolating statements can fundamentally alter their meaning. Adding another layer of intrigue is the alleged original title of the video, which reportedly included God of War. Given Alanah's extensive experience and prominent standing in games media, she possesses a keen understanding of online communication and search engine optimization. One might reasonably expect her to incorporate Ragnarok into that title if the content genuinely pertained to the game, especially given its pre-release viewership potential. This raises a compelling question. Could the absence of Ragnarok have been a deliberate choice, initially indicating the video's content was not directly related to Ragnarok specifically? Now, based on the transcripts, we know that the video's title was changed in post, but it was changed prior to the resurfacing of this drama, which indicates to me that that original title was likely changed in post as it was too on the nose, perhaps verging on breaking NDA or other contractual implications. It's just my guess, but it's a thought that's worth considering. Ultimately, the strongest counterpoint to the hidden evidence narrative emerged when Alanah re-uploaded the video.
But she did relist the video I asked about.
The action immediately invalidates any claims of concealment and provides an opportunity for direct scrutiny of the content by anyone interested. The re-upload serves as a transparent rebuttal, allowing viewers to form their own conclusions based on the complete context rather than relying on decontextualized snippets.
And I say that as someone who still largely feels like a bystander. I did very little work on this game.
Next, we delve into the evidence derived from a podcast episode that was also initially removed, then subsequently re-uploaded by Alanah herself in response to public demand. This particular instance, however, presents a critical distinction: a discernible audio cut. This cut was independently verified by cross-referencing the re-uploaded clip with the original unedited audio available on other podcast platforms as originally uncovered by YouTuber Nobody. The pivotal moment within this truncated clip occurs as Alanah discusses her involvement with the game. She begins to articulate her contributions, specifically mentioning writing, before being abruptly cut off. Her exact words or intended statements remain unclear. Now, while some interpretations suggest a direct contradiction, with parties saying that she says have, Alanah responded saying she says haven't. I'll leave that interpretation up to you.
So I always feel like I have to give the context. I didn't work on this game a ton. I
was just about to say, but then I stopped myself.
I was going to
ask, but yeah, like,
sorry,
I never really remember what's the
So I have
limits.
worked on it. I am allowed to say that I worked on the accessibility stuff, which I did. Like, I pitched and helped iterate some literal features of the game, some gameplay mechanics. For writing, I think I'm allowed to say...
There's at least
I'm not
one
allowed to
boy
say.
in
I'm not
there
allowed
that's
to
yours.
say what. I can say. I wrote some supportive content, and I'm not allowed to say what.
No matter what you hear, the definitive content of that exchange is ambiguous. The interruption prevented her from completing her thought. However, immediately following this, she clarifies that her work pertained to supportive content for the game. Following the release of Ragnarok, Alanah announced her involvement with the official God of War cookbook. This publication naturally leverages the game's content and imagery and demonstrably falls under the umbrella of supportive content and promotional material. Now, the term supportive content warrants particular attention, as I believe it may allude to something more significant. Even Alanah herself has indicated that she's done more than just the cookbook. So remember the term supportive content as we check out the last piece of evidence. There is a particular Twitter thread which is also cited regularly in discussions surrounding Alanah's purported writing contributions to God of War Ragnarok. The thread in question is one where she addresses criticisms regarding her involvement in the game. The core assertion being made by YouTuber SmashJT is that her responses in themselves, in their very nature, affirm her role. However, again, a more nuanced analytical approach is warranted here. It's crucial to remember that Alanah, by nature of her education and work history, is a communications specialist. So I feel interpretation should hinge on the definitional meaning of her statements rather than a speculative inference. Throughout the Twitter thread, she consistently employs quotation marks directly referencing the claims of others about her involvement. She adeptly highlights the logical fallacies underpinning the public's indignation, yet she never explicitly states that she was a writer for Ragnarok specifically. Alanah mentions her capacity as a writer for Santa Monica Studios and her work on a AAA game. She references God of War, but notably never specifically Ragnarok. Furthermore, even post-Ragnarok's launch, she continues to assert her active writing role with Santa Monica Studio. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, or in this case a farmer from Canada, to connect the dots that this consistent phrasing strongly suggests that her writing credits are likely to be forthcoming on projects outside of God of War Ragnarok specifically.
I worked heavily on plot and character as a writer at Sony Santa Monica Studio. I never, anywhere, even in this conversation, claimed it was on that game specifically. At the point where he posted the credits to say, interesting that you aren't listed as a lead writer since only the lead writers do that kind of work, I did not reply and say, well, that's what I did on that game. I replied, in present tense, after the game already came out, and said, and yet, it's what I do every day. This was several weeks after that game that I said I didn't do much work on came out. The tone of me saying, and yet it's what I do every day, is very specific.
So let's broaden our perspective and consider the multifaceted landscape of games development. It's rarely a singular linear progression. Instead, studios often manage a portfolio of projects, each residing at distinct phases of its life cycle. Whispers from within the industry suggest Santa Monica Studios' hidden pipeline with several unannounced titles reportedly in the works. One is projected to be a new intellectual property, and another a potential God of War spin-off. My hypothesis, drawing from the available contextual clues, leans towards Alanah's involvement in one of two capacities. A, her role was integral to the foundational writing of this fresh IP. Her previous remarks regarding crafting characters and intricate scenarios aligned seamlessly with the early stages of a new narrative universe. With no writing positions currently available through Santa Monica Studio jobs postings, this could signify that this particular phase, in which Alanah might have been instrumental, has concluded. Or B, and this resonates strongly with the consistent allusions to supportive content and repeated unqualified mentions of God of War, she could be a key contributor to the God of War spin-off game. Her concept of supportive content might extend beyond ancillary materials like the cookbook, suggesting she played a crucial role in early conceptualization and ensuring creative through lines between Ragnarok and this new developing unannounced title. That's why she was involved in those Ragnarok meetings.
I saw this journey happen and I was in all the meetings and I watched this for the last 2 and a bit years, or no, almost 3 years.
That's why she joined midway through the development of Ragnarok and felt she contributed little to that specific game.
And they must have been well underway with it when you joined, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I suspect she was involved with the team designing a new narrative architecture and ensuring a cohesive thematic and lore-driven connection between Ragnarok and these evolving projects at the studio. Yet, she can't come out and explicitly say that, as these games are unannounced, and she would be under a very strict and ongoing non-disclosure agreement. Now, I did reach out to Alanah for confirmations and clarifications and maybe to get a statement. I did not hear back. I don't blame her. She's busy, and I'm a YouTuber who has 7 subscribers. So while definitive confirmation awaits, the cumulative weight of the evidence and the established timeline of her professional engagement with Santa Monica Studios strongly suggests her forthcoming writing credits will surface in a future release.
I do think it'll be really interesting to see when a certain game comes out and the story is going to have to change from she's a liar to, well, she wrote all the parts I hate. She wrote all the bad parts.
Only time will tell, but if I'm wrong, if a video surfaces that proves she lied specifically about Ragnarok, or she garners no additional writing credits, then feel free to come back to this video and call me King of the Simps. But if this ends up being true, I'm sure the folks leading the hate brigade will come to their senses and offer a heartfelt apology. Right? Oh, and in the event that I'm wrong,
I could go on about how she's pansexual and fucks animals.
please stay away from my geese.